What's good, everyone, and welcome back to another reaction video. Today, we are reacting to Game Theory, the hidden conspiracy of That's Not My Neighbor. And for one, if you don't know what this game is about, I think there's a similar game out there that came out before this, after this. Basically, you check some passports, see if the person's suspicious or not, and the government will do whatever they can when it comes to the matter. Like, that is the very loose thing about it. I can't remember the other game on the top of my head. You just look at information, gather details, and see if they are wanted or not, prevent them from crossing, and bam, that's it. That's how it works. That's how the game is. But in this case, it would be more of how to describe it without making it sound weird. I guess you could say supernatural, extraterrestrial, alien like. I don't know. There's various ways to go about this. Heck, even William Afton's a part of this. So, yeah. Well, a character that looks like him, at the very least. But yes, that is mainly what this game is about. I have did a previous reaction to a previous theory about this game on Game Theory. That sounds a bit contradicting now that I say it out loud, does it? Anyway, though, that's what this game's about. So I hope you all enjoyed this reaction video. If you do, hit the like button down below. Hit the subscribe button to support the channel, support the content provided, and so on and so forth. Hit the notification button, be notified immediately when a video comes out. And if there's any videos you would like to recommend that I should react to, put it down in the comment section below, and I'll react to it as soon as possible. Now with this all said, let's react to this video. Oh, wait, before I forget, the link, I think I already said this, but the link to this video is going to be down in the description. Keep Game Theory and love and support. And let's start this video for real now.
Is this thing working? Okay, I don't have much time. In our last theory, I said that the aliens in That's Not My Neighbor were part of the DDD's plan to take over the world. That was a lie. The DDD made me say that to keep people scared, to hide the truth. The truth is, the aliens are... Ah! Hello, Internet. Welcome to Game Theory, the show that needs you to stop the doppelgangers by smashing that emergency...
Let me guess. This organization is aliens. And they're working to get, and they're trying to make up an army to kill everyone. Am I right? I don't know. Probably not. That or they're trying to warn us. I'm leaning toward my first option. That the organization is a group of aliens, and they're coming together to kill us all.
Emergency subscribe button. Quickly, before they get in! Whew, good job. I thought we dealt with all of these guys already, but apparently I was mistaken. Because out of nowhere, That's Not My Neighbor has made a comeback. If you managed to sneak past our previous theory like a doppel getting past the doorman, let me quickly get you up to speed. In That's Not My Neighbor, we take on the role of a new doorman at an apartment building. Our job is simple. Check the IDs of our neighbors as they enter the building, and make sure none of their evil doppelgangers get inside. Using an ARG document given to us by one of the characters, as well as a few dates sprinkled throughout, we were able to figure out that these doppels weren't just some evil random entities, but government creations. They were made for a secret program known as the Trojan Horse Project, run by the one and only Dr. W. Afton. Yes, he's in this game too. No, I don't like it either. Anyway, since the doppels were mostly good at mimicking ordinary people, and thanks to the image of the DDD, the Doppelganger Detection Department, standing next to aliens, it seemed like the DDD were using alien technology and even their biology to make these doppels in order to replace all the regular inhabitants of the apartment building and eventually take over the world body snatcher style. The problem was, the doppels weren't exactly cooperative, and eventually some of them escaped into the real world. This forced the government to hire us to work alongside the DDD and wrangle them up. Which brings us to today and the brand new mode that has been added to the game. One that I was very excited for. A campaign mode. Once again, we are taking on the role of the doorman, only this time, instead of trying to last as long as possible...
Now that's interesting. A campaign mode. That's how... I think that reminds me of that other game that has similar mechanics to this. I don't remember what it was called, though. But it does sound similar to it. But that's interesting. A campaign mode based on this, huh?
We had to survive 7 nights, because FNAF has truly infiltrated every theory I do at this point. Thankfully, unlike FNAF, they broke away from the cryptic storytelling and gave us the thing that we crave: lore. We've got 5
Ooh,
endings to unlock,
really?
more details about Dr. Afton and the DDD, and the answer to a question I didn't even know I needed. Who are the good guys in all of this? Let's just say that if you're a fan of 1950s sci-fi, you are going to love where this series is going. So get ready to dial lore on your
Hmm.
rotary phones, theorists, because it's time for us to learn the true story of That's Not My Neighbor. As I mentioned, there are 5 different endings of this game mode. Some of them are pretty standard affairs. If you don't kill too many people, you get a job well done. If you let all the doppels in, they kill you and take over the world. It's pretty much what you'd expect. But there were a couple that gave me pause. If you were following the ARG or had watched our previous video, you'd know that Afton was the evil scientist involved in creating these doppels. And so, when he shows up in the campaign mode, you have the option to call the DDD on him immediately to get him killed. However, instead of being killed like every other neighbor in the series, right at the end of the game, he comes back, because he always comes back. Afton tells you you shouldn't have stuck your nose where it didn't belong, and then he calls the DDD agents to take you out. This ending is actually called the conspiracy theorist ending, but as our suspicions about Afton and the DDD trying to do something super shady seem to be right, we best keep our eyes open and our tinfoil hats on, because who knows what other conspiracies will also prove to be true. Although, while that part of our original theory was
Hmm.
on the right track, what exactly Afton and the DDD's plans are with these doppels appears to differ slightly. We knew from this flashing image that this whole conspiracy involved aliens, somehow. With only a single frame to
Yeah.
go off of, we ended up speculating that the aliens and the DDD were working together to intentionally have the doppels infiltrate society. The DDD was using the nightmares from Nightmare Mode to trick us into seeing everyone as a monster, leading us to call the DDD on everyone. But when you do that to a normal neighbor, they aren't captured like the doppels. They're killed off. It seemed like the DDD wanted us to let the doppels in, and also wanted us to do their dirty work and get rid of the people they were impersonating. However, thanks to one of the game's new endings, I'm no longer sure that's the case. If you decide to call the DDD on everyone, killing all of the residents, the DDD aren't exactly pleased. Instead, the game ends with you being arrested. Or if you decide to play the game perfectly, you don't kill any residents, you let all the residents in, and you call the DDD on every doppel, they actually give you an award. The DDD
Huh.
doesn't want regular citizens hurt. Sure, if you happen to mess up a couple of times, you'll get paid at the end of the week in the normal ending. That's just the cost of doing business. But killing too many people will rouse suspicion. All they want is for their abominations to be returned to them. Instead of this being a conspiracy to take over the world, it's just a classic case of a government cover-up. But then, what are the doppels for? The game takes place in 1955
Hmm.
after all. Is it just standard Cold War espionage? And if they're not doing an Invaders of the Body Snatchers parody, where do the aliens fit into all of this? Well, thankfully, it's not just new endings.
That is weird, actually. All this information. It's very contradicting. For one, this is just wow. So, getting too many people killed and them being the wrong people to kill will get you arrested, but you doing everything perfectly will lead to you having like this whole thing cleared. I don't know how to I don't know how to uh put it. Well, not clear, more like doing it perfectly means you get rewarded and you're made the best employee for doing your job right, getting all the mess cleaned up, and so on and so forth. That's weird.
We got in the campaign mode, there's one other key element that shines a UFO-sized spotlight on this particular mystery, which in turn helps us to understand what the DDD really wants. Each night we are shown newspaper clippings that tell the story of a man named Chester Teeter. Chester used to be an
Huh?
ordinary farmer. That was until, according to him, he started being harassed by aliens. One night, Chester claims he saw and even shot at the aliens. Over the next few nights, the aliens continued to harass Chester. They They circle his property. They even steal some of his cows, including his most precious cow, Lulu. Oh, seven's in the chat for our girl Lulu. Eventually, Chester
Huh.
himself goes missing, only to be returned the next day. But now he's changed. According to his family, he's babbling nonsense. He claims he was abducted by aliens who sent him to the future, where he learned all about 21st century life. Now, if you've played this game before, you probably recognize Chester. He's the crazy hippie who randomly shows up at the apartment building and quizzes you about random real-world trivia. So we could easily chalk this whole story up to Chester just being a little eccentric. I mean, the design of Chester himself is a reference to The Truth, a character from GTA San Andreas, a former farmer who claims to have had interdimensional interactions with aliens. In fact, Chester's last name, Teeter, appears to be a reference to John Teeter, the pseudonym of a person online who in the early 2000s posted on message boards claiming to be a time traveler. But remember, we too were being branded a conspiracy theorist in this game for an idea that proved to be correct. So maybe we should give Chester's story a bit more credence. Plus, unlike those other characters whose close encounters of the third kind were never really verified, when you look at it, Chester's claims seem to be legit. For one, Chester describes the aliens as having large, dark eyes, which match the aliens we saw in that one frame with the DDD. But second, and most importantly, Chester does seem to have knowledge of things that haven't yet happened. According to the calendar on the wall, this game takes place in 1955, and yet, in his quiz, he asks about The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which was first published in 1979, chess boxing, which was first envisioned in 1992, and even World of Warcraft, which was first...
That's a thing? I didn't think it was an official thing, chess boxing. Wow, I didn't know that was an official thing. That is actually shocking. When I heard of it, I thought it was a joke, but dang. Guess I was wrong. Oh, and World of Warcraft, that's actually, I don't know what to think about that one.
First released in 2004. There is no way Chester would know about any of these things unless he did, in fact, travel to the future, thanks to the aliens like he claimed. But even if you consider all of that information as non-canon to the campaign mode because it only appears in the arcade mode, we still have one crucial piece of evidence that shows that Chester's story is true. The design on his shirt. When you see him, he's dressed in the classic hippie attire, with a peace symbol right in the middle of his shirt. And that peace symbol was created by a man named Gerald Holtham in 1958. 3 years after this game takes place. Chester's story is legitimate. He was abducted by aliens right out of his field and shown the world of the future. But the question is, why? Why would aliens care to show the future to a random farmer? And again, what does this have to do with the photo of them in the DDD? Well, it's all to do with that peace symbol. Fun fact, this symbol wasn't made as a generic symbol of peace. It had a specific meaning. It was meant to represent the nuclear disarmament movement. And that ties us back to the real-world history we used in our last video. The main campaign takes place in 1955, the height of the Cold War. At this time, the United States and the Soviet Union had begun building up their massive nuclear arsenals. And that all started 10 years earlier in 1940.
I remember bits and pieces of that. The Soviets and the US have been using people to fight their war, and so on and so forth. And yeah, long story short, it leads to the eventual, in later years, the breaking of the Soviet Union. I mean, they had their nuclear weapons ready, it's just they didn't want to fire them because that could lead to nuclear warfare that will destroy the Earth. And thankfully they didn't, because that is a true thing that would happen and we would all freaking die.
1955, the same year as the creation of the Doppelganger program in the game, and the same year that a story arose about an avocado-shaped craft landing in the desert of New Mexico, right near the location of the Trinity nuclear bomb testing site, where the US tested the first ever atomic bomb a few weeks prior. These aliens could have sent Chester anywhere or any when they wanted, but they chose to send a man from the time where nuclear bombs were beginning their development to a time where the anti-nuke peace symbol was most prominent. That cannot be a coincidence. These aliens have the ability to look into the future, and so I suspect they saw the dangers of where humanity was heading with nuclear weapons. Weapons that, if used, would not only threaten all of humanity, but all life on Earth, even the cows. It's actually very similar to another classic 1950s sci-fi film, The Day the Earth Stood Still. I'm telling you, this dev loves some Golden Age era alien movies. In the movie, an alien lands on Earth and we get the classic line,
"We have come to visit you in peace."
These aliens are non-aggressive. They then warn the humans that aliens from other planets are getting concerned about humanity's aggression and their development of nuclear weapons.
It is no concern of ours how you run your own planet, but if you threaten to extend your violence, this Earth of yours will be reduced to a burned-out cinder.
I believe we are seeing the same thing play out in That's Not My Neighbor. Despite having the technology to literally travel through space and time, the aliens in That's Not My Neighbor don't seem to want to take over the Earth. Otherwise, they probably would have done it by now. Instead, they're just content flying around farms, abducting cows, learning about what life is like on this planet. Heck, Chester literally shoots at them, and yet instead of zapping him out of existence, they decide to capture him and send him on a journey through time to show him the ways of peace. These aliens didn't show up in 19...
That's weird. Very weird. It's cool they're peace-loving and all that. I'm not gonna judge them on that. And so on and so forth. That's great and all. The only question that I have when it comes to the matter is, why? I mean, don't get me wrong, it's cool and all, but why? And why the connection? Like, do they, like, hate peace? And they want to kill the aliens to stop promoting peace? Or what?
1945 to discuss helping the DDD, they came to warn the DDD about the future, trying to convince them that peace is the only way. Peace from nuclear weapons. That is what is going on in this random photo. But of course, humanity isn't great at listening. While aliens coming in peace might be a common sci-fi trope, the humanity thinks aliens are evil trope is just as common. Think about it. A super powerful race of beings comes down to Earth and say they're from the future and warn you of the total devastation your creation will cause. Do you A, reevaluate your position and consider disarming your nukes for the betterment of mankind, or B, assume that the aliens are actually trying to disarm humanity in order to make you vulnerable and take over the world? Yeah, deep down I think we all know which one humanity would ultimately take. And in The Day the Earth Stood Still, that is exactly what happens. The humans end up tracking down and killing the alien that arrived on the planet to warn them. This is where the DDD's plan comes into focus. They didn't trust the aliens that wanted to remove...
That actually, like, sounds reasonable, actually. That actually makes sense. Because you're gonna end up second-guessing when it comes to the matter. Everyone will. Trust is a hard-earned thing. Especially when you consider someone being, or any being, having the same amount of power and all that. It sucks, but it's kind of true. I mean, would you trust a random stranger who offered you, like, food? No, not food, who would offer you something? Would you? I mean, some people might, but an overall majority would feel like there's gotta be a catch. There's gotta be something wrong. There's gotta be, like, something, anything that's gonna happen if you agreed. Because that's usually how some people think. They're too skeptical to believe that something like this is possible.
Their only means of defense in this new war, and so it would be better to strike them first. If these aliens are abducting people like Chester, then the best way to get close to them would be to get others abducted. Though it wouldn't be safe to send your own people. We don't even know if we have enough firepower to stop them. Chester shot at them and it didn't really seem to do anything. So why not create doppelgangers? Creatures indistinguishable from real humans with perfectly replicable verbal communication, regardless of language, be it English, Russian, or perhaps Blizzball, all while having an insatiable appetite for death and violence. Then, when the aliens inevitably capture one of these doppels instead of the humans they were supposed to, these doppels can study the aliens' behaviors, kill them, and report back to the DDD. That's why when you call the DDD to report a doppel, they aren't killed like the neighbors. They're captured. They're they're still useful. They could still be trained to be more obedient and carry out the mission they were literally born to do. It's also why, despite nearly every character in the building having a doppel of their own, including Afton, Chester doesn't. I mean, what good is it to make a doppel of him when he's already been abducted? They've already shown him the future and, based on his shirt, convinced him to join their cause. They're unlikely to pick the same guy twice, and so a doppel of him just has no purpose. And all this time, we thought the doppels were created to spy on political enemies and take over the world. But in fact, the doppels were created to keep an eye on and destroy a different threat. If by threat you mean a peace-loving species that is trying to save humanity from itself. Although, much like our nuclear weapons, the creation of the doppels came with some unintended consequences. They weren't game for our plan. They escaped, and now they are hell-bent on infiltrating society and taking over. Exactly what the DDD were afraid the aliens would do. Either way, the ending will be the same. Humans will end up destroying themselves with their own genius creations, be it the nukes or the doppels. Or maybe, if we're lucky, the aliens will see that humanity is a lost cause and put us out of our misery. Just make sure the cows are safe this time. I can't bear the thought of losing Lulu again. But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory! Thanks for watching. And if you're looking...
Lulu. Lulu. Huh. The name sounds familiar, I'm not gonna lie. Don't know where, though. Nothing really comes to mind. Yeah, nothing comes to mind, so I can't really say anything about that matter. So, we have aliens that wanna, well, not take over, but wanna give us, well, trying to show us peace, while we're not, well, the government's not A-okay with it. That's honestly the most normal thing about the matter. Like, can you name one alien movie where the aliens are good and the government's gonna be A-okay with them telling others what to do? I mean, name one. Name one movie where that's the case. Exactly. There's nothing anyone would really say positive about the matter. But yeah, I guess that makes sense. The doppelgangers being, like, not trusting us seems like a bit of a oversight, but then again, a lot of things are in the grand scheme of things. So yeah, makes sense. So yeah, overall, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button below. Hit the subscribe button to support the channel, support the content provided, and so on and so forth. Hit the notification button to be notified immediately when your video comes out. Tell me what you think about this theory overall. And yeah, be sure to, as before, give Gang Theory love and support for the video they made. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye!